Well, that does it. No more music for this morning. It's 8:30 on the dot. Morning, Mr. Diener.
Good morning. Good morning. Trying to unmute myself here. There we go.
Got it.
How are you?
Excellent and amazing.
Good.
Almost hit 6,000 steps already today, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Oh, you are moving. I have not gotten that far yet.
It was a slow day. Hey, I was thinking before we get started, a little bit of credentials.
Okay.
I was thinking today, I got my real estate license when I was 20, so it's 34 years ago. And I
Okay.
started real estate part-time in like 1989. And I think you started before me.
I started in 03. So yeah. I worked for more business forums. I was a salesman, manager, product manager for 25 years there before I started real estate. So this is my second career.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm hearing is, and it's not just from our agents, but around the country, is there's a lot of fear. And it's really, what's the word I want to use? It's ridiculous. It's unjustified.
Unjustified.
And then I realized that most of our agents, we've got almost 500, have never seen a normal real estate market.
No.
So I think what we're going to talk about today is what a normal real estate market is and how we have to act differently today to adapt to it. Because if you were growing up since 2008, well, the last boom was 2005, right?
It was like when I got in like 3, 4, and 5, and I was in Maryland. So 3, 4, and 5 was really crazy. And the middle of 6 is when it started, when the Fed started raising rates, and went through the same thing we're going through now.
Right. So the other thing to note is we've been through this before. We'll get through it again. Right. And
The thing is, Craig, people forget people need to live somewhere. And
that's exactly what I thought about this morning. I said, let's get this straight. People need to live somewhere. So they really only have two choices. Well, they have three choices. They could be homeless. They could rent an apartment, whether low class or high class, or they can own a home.
Or live home with mom and dad, which
yeah. Which the radio station was talking about yesterday morning. So that's it. Move home with your parents, be homeless, get an apartment, low class or high class or middle class, or own a home. And from our perspective, what's the best option?
Own a home.
Own a home. I don't know if you saw the class I did yesterday with Divvy Homes. What an exciting opportunity that is. Oh, I'm afraid to buy, Joe, because mortgage rates are so high and prices are so high. If they come down, we'll be stuck with this overpriced house and we'll get a short sale and blah, 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 blah. Because it is true. If you buy today at today's high prices and prices fall, you're going to get hurt if you need to sell your house. Right?
But we forget in a normal market, when I bought a house I built a house and it would have been like 04 or 5. The market didn't go up exponentially like it did. It went up 4 or 5% a year. So really you needed to live in that house 3 or 4 years before you would ever break even, to sell it and recoup your costs of closing and stuff. We just been in something unusual where you could buy a house today and sell it for $100,000 more at the end of the year. I mean, right. that's just abnormal. If you look at the housing market over 50 years, the appreciation is 4 to 5%.
Correct.
So that's, we've gone through 2 cycles in my lifetime anyway, where it's been crazy in my real estate lifetime. So,
But I want to make sure our agents understand the truth, because there's some truth to what the media is saying, but most of it is irrelevant. Excuse me. So if you bought your house in 2022, you paid top of market for it, right? And if we have a price decline of 20%, which they're saying we're going to, you're going to be damaged if you're a 2022 buyer.
Right.
2022 prices went up. I'm sorry, 2021 prices went up almost 30%.
Right.
So you're probably okay. If you bought in 2020 or 2019, you can't be damaged unless you leverage yourself and pulled out a whole bunch of equity and bought an RV or something.
Right.
Right. So we have 1 year of population buying that is subject to potential foreclosures. If something horrible happens, they lose their job and they can't make up the money.
But they're few and far between. I mean, no one is going to buy a house and sell it in the same, not intentionally, right? So that's not going to be. No, I just happen to have a seller right now who did just that and got moved, but that's not a normal thing. You're not going to buy a house and figure on selling it in the same year. So
Right.
that's probably a very small
portion of the home buying population.
Right.
And then I was thinking about the people who did buy it at the top. If you bought in the first half of 22, you're still taking advantage of 3% interest rates.
Right.
So don't sell that house, rent it, because you can rent it for more than your payment is. Because the rising interest rates raise the price of rents too. The apartment developers or whatever, the investors, they've got to charge more for their rent because they charge more for the money they use to borrow the property.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and their taxes are gone up and their insurance has gone up, so they need to recoup that cost.
I just paid my property taxes yesterday, and my homestead bill, my taxes went up $88.
Oh, you're lucky.
I'm lucky. My
You are
investment
lucky.
property tax bill went from $3,600 to $5,500. So it went up $200 a month.
Right.
But the house went from $280 to $400 almost. So what am I going to do? Cry about it?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
And then, just talk about, I want our agents to be educated and calm down the marketplace and know the facts of what happened. Right.
That's right. That's right.
So as we go into the new normal, which is really
The normal.
the normal over time,
The normal.
over my 34 years and your 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
right, this is kind of normal. So I thought we'd go through, and it's funny, as a joke for the sales meeting agenda next week, I get MLS notices, right? And I'm just copied on every one of them. So to say,
Right.
your temporary off market has been off market for a long time, please address it. And that's the type of message that I get. I got one yesterday that says, your listing is due to expire.
Yeah. When was the last time we got one of those?
I mean, I called it out because I don't get those anymore.
No.
So now we're starting to see listings are due to expire. Now, two reasons for that. Well, one reason really, we were allowing you guys to take short listings, right? We didn't need a 6-month listing because we could sell the freaking house in a week.
Right.
So now we're going to start seeing expiring listings. And I think that's an opportunity. Why?
Well, because usually when they expire, research has found that they expire and they don't relist because the seller did not like the agent. All right. They didn't like the communication was the big factor in that. All right. So they weren't communicating and being with them. So it expired and they had no confidence in them.
Mm-hmm.
So over communicate. It doesn't, you should be talking to your listing at least once a week and sending them some kind of report of what's going on with their listing and of course feedback.
And we've got a tool to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your Moxie CMA will basically update itself. All you got to do is push it out to them and remind them that it's there.
Right.
So push it out to them, give them a telephone call and say, hey, I updated your market analysis. Let's talk about it. Right. Because it's not that the agent did a bad job. The seller has to take responsibility here. They decide their price and then we educate them. And if they don't take our advice, we still want the listing. Right. But we want to educate them along the way. So there's some tips and tricks we're going to talk about as we get into that. But so expiring listings are something we haven't seen in a long time. And that's going to create an opportunity for us. If you follow our listing system, you could go to that seller and have an honest conversation with them and explain why their house didn't sell. And the truth is because their agent didn't educate them most of the time. They just took the listing and they don't have a system to get it sold either. So that's an opportunity for you. So there's something called expired listings. You go to the MLS, you search up expired listings, and it's generally a speed to lead game, right? If they still want to sell their house, they want to get it back on the market quick. And they many times will blame their agent as the reason it didn't sell. Because they thought, you put your house on the market, it sells automatically, right? For above price, asking price. But
If
that's
you
not
go in, if you go into the next level resource centers, there are scripts and everything in there to help you with expired listings.
100%. And we'll be role playing those as the weeks come on, because that's going to start happening. So we're going to start pinning down now for we're going to hold you more accountable to the 6-month listing agreement, because the sellers now that we're going to find that time is coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So another game we haven't had to play, and these are tough conversations to have, and we're going to talk about the tough conversations, but it is listing extensions. So if you've got a listing now that you thought was going to sell in a week and you've been on the market for 2.5 months and you only took a 3-month listing, you're going to need a listing extension. So how do we do that?
Well, I mean, first, well, other than going into dotloop and finding it,
That's it.
yeah, go in. But you really, I have, you and I talked about it, my 21 day rule on a listing. We're reviewing it at 21 days. We're reviewing feedback. We're reviewing especially what people were saying about the price. And that's when you and then also looking down and seeing what properties in that zip code went pending since that house has been on the market. So why did people walk by your listing and go to another listing? And sometimes
that one had roses in the garden, and the yard was mowed, and there was no cobwebs on the door, and the mud daubers were off the porch.
Well, yeah, that. But also sometimes things are going pending. Say your listing's at 650, just to pick a number, and your seller's seeing other houses going off the market, but they're all 550 and they're smaller houses. All right. So you need to sit down and say, well, this is the market right now, and these people are buying 550. You're at 650. You may be jumbo loan territory. There's reasons why you might not be selling, but no one has bought a 650 home in this area in the last 21 days since you've been on the market. So maybe puts them at ease. They're in a little higher price point than some people can be in right now. So that's why it's always good. I always go back and look at actives. What's your competition? What pended since you've been on market? Solds I don't really pay attention to, and unless you're trying to figure out price. But solds are really hard to do anything with right now.
Well, solds are history. They're the rear view mirror. But you need them to adjust. If you're making 3 sales when you sell a property, you're selling the appraiser on the value, the buyer on the value, and the seller on the value.
Right.
That's what the SPA is supposed to do. But I think right now I would lean more toward your
pendings
than your expireds.
Yes.
Because the pendings are a big deal. And to quote Chris, if you've got a sold property that closed 60 days ago, the buyer that bought that property bought it probably 60 days before that. And we did an example the other day, or I helped him with an example the other day. So 4 months ago, interest rates were 5.5%. Today, they're 7%. So I used a $400,000 mortgage, and the payment was $2,200 a month. At 7% today, it's $2,600 a month. So it was a difference of $400. And then I did the math backwards, and it ended up being a $60,000 value change. So the house is 400. I can now only afford a 360 house for that same payment. So that seller who wants that buyer has to lower his price to 340 for that buyer to afford it, where he didn't have to last 4 months ago. And that's what we have to get the agents to get the sellers to understand. The interest rate increase has affected the value of your house or the number of buyers that can qualify to buy your house.
We also have some buyer adjustments that are going right now. I got approved in May for 600,000. Well, 600,000 price is one thing, but now all of a sudden I only get approved for 400 or 500. Well, that house is going to be a little bit different. So buyers are going, well, I really don't want a $400,000 house. I want a $600,000 house. So they're pulling back because it doesn't upgrade them that much from where they are right now.
Right.
So that's
which doesn't mean the market's soft. It just means demand has changed.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
If I wanted to sell my house, I'd make a fortune on it, but I'd go buy another house and I'd have double the mortgage that I got, mortgage rate
Right.
that I have right now.
Right.
And then I thought about, and also my taxes would go up, but they really wouldn't because I'd have portability. And I want the agents to be versed on portability too.
Mhm.
Right. That's a real big benchmark. At the Easter Seals thing we did on Tuesday, that was my speech to the members, just a quick little real estate tidbit was, you're blessed to be in Florida, right? You got portability, you got zero state income tax, and that's why these other states are losing populations big time because they're all coming here.
Right. Right.
All right.
And we're
So
still
let's-
getting,
go ahead.
go ahead. I said we're still getting a big increase we're still getting a lot of people moving in. So that's not changed. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but it's net in migration to us and it's
Right.
ex migration for the other states.
Correct.
I wanted to show a quick little blog.
Okay.
Elliot Eisenberg, the Bowtie economist, he just released the third quarter thing. It's a 3-minute video, but I thought it was really good and it explains a lot of stuff. So I had that on my list. I forgot to do it. So
Sure.
I'm going
Go
to share
ahead.
my screen for a quick minute. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it yet?
I have not.
Because I'm a dork and I watch these type of things. Am I sharing my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Hi, this is Elliot Eisenberg of Graphs and Laughs.
Okay, he's a little funny, right? He's kind of animated. He's called the Bowtie Economist, and his little phrase is graphs and laughs. So he's corny, but I really like his economic perspective. So put the geekiness aside.
Here to catch you up to date on the latest in residential sales data for both Hillsborough and Pasco counties. And what can I tell you? The market is clearly slowing. Inventory is well up. If you look at median time to contract, months of inventory, actual units of inventory, it's up well over 100% year over year. Although that's almost exclusively because inventory a year ago was infinitesimally tiny. Now it's a little bigger, but compared to the nation, it's still well down in Pasco and Hillsborough counties at about 2 months. Nationally, it's 3.2 months, well below the national average. As a result of that, even though interest rates are going up, the inventory is being so low is keeping price appreciation pretty solid. Price appreciation in both Hillsborough and Pasco County over the past year has gone up between 15 and 30%. Those are pretty good.
All right, let's address these things as they come across.
Mhm.
What's the headline of the newspaper today and the media news? Home prices are
Falling.
falling. What did he just say?
They're going up.
The price is going up 15 to 30% year over year. How could that be? Why would the media report that?
Well, because if you might be looking at what they put it on the market is versus what they sold, but that's not the okay. So that's not necessarily the price. If you look at reports, he's right. Year over year is 15% in Hillsborough County for single family.
Amazing. I just want to call it the bullshit as we hear it.
Yep.
Numbers. Now, they were a little better a while back, and the market is clearly weakening, but these are still strong numbers. That said, if you look at existing sales activity, it's down in both counties by meaningful amounts, a little extra in Hillsborough County. If you look at pending sales activity, it's down by meaningful amounts in both counties, a little extra in Hillsborough County. And if you look at sales price to original listing price, it's also down meaningfully in both counties, a little extra in Hillsborough County. So Hillsborough County.
Wait, I'm gonna back that up for 1 second because percent of asking price to sale price, 3%, 2%. So you put a house on the market for 400 grand and it's selling for 2% of 400's 8,000, so 392.
Right.
We were selling at 100% list to sell price with, we had full price offers on everything and over. So that could be a bigger swing if you say we were going 5% over asking. Now we're down to 3% under asking. But that's really historically, Joe, in your experience, what is list price ratio to sell price ratio?
Oh,
Usually 95.
95, 94, 95%. Yeah.
So still, we're better than that right now, too.
So Hillsborough County is suffering a little more because I think home prices are more expensive. People are looking for a less expensive product, given that home prices and mortgage rates are up. If we turn our attention and look at the national economy, in Q1 and Q2, GDP was just god-awful bad news. In Q3 that just finished, the numbers were really quite strong. We're not in a recession. And in Q4 that we're in right now, the numbers will be pretty good, pleasantly positive, not as good as Q3, but not nearly as, no negative numbers like Q1 and 2. And as a result of that, GDP overall in 2022 is going to be positive. That's really a great thing. The problem is inflation. It's continuing to be bad. It's high. It doesn't seem to want to come down much. And as a result of that, the Fed keeps raising rates. That's the problem. They've raised them a bunch of times already, and they're going to raise them 2 more times this year. At their next meeting in November, they're going to raise them 3/4 of a point. At their last meeting in December, they're going to raise 1/2 a point. And then next year, the first meeting or two, they're going to raise each 1/4 point. And the problem is, by raising rates so much and so quickly, the chances of driving the economy into a recession keep getting higher. At this point, I strongly suspect that we'll have a recession sometime in the middle to late of 2023. So be prepared, keep this in mind as you plan your business, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Love the bow tie.
So I think it's like what we heard in Phoenix was we've got to control the narrative and straighten people out. Everybody's talking recession. Recession in your definition, you've got an MBA. What's the definition of a recession?
GDP down 2 quarters
Negative
in a row. Negative growth in the 2 quarters. Yep.
And we had that, right? And then
Yeah.
in quarter 1 and quarter 2. So we were in a recession, right?
Technically, yes.
Technically, they changed the definitions. They didn't call it.
Right, exactly.
We were in a recession for quarter 1 at the end of quarter.
That's right.
Then quarter 3, we've never been in a recession for 2 weeks and then it's over. But quarter 3 came out of the box and GDP went up. So that is technically the end of the recession. And now he's saying the Fed's going to, the next 2, we're going to 2 more, 0.75 this quarter, 0.75 next, not this month, next month. That's 1.5, 1 more, 1.5, that's 2.25, and then another quarter. So rate's going to go up another 2.5%, which will trickle down to the mortgage here. I think we see mortgage rates in the 8s.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have our sales force armed with that knowledge and the buyers complaining they need to buy and they're trying to wait now for rates to fall, well, if they wait now, rates are going to go up. So they really need to buy now, right?
I mean, if you look at the interest, the inflation rate was, I think, 8 point something last month. But that figures a lot of things that we don't necessarily buy on a daily basis. I mean, I went to buy Miracle Whip the other day. It was $8.99 a jar. I came home and said, forget it. $8.99 a jar. And of course, they've reduced the amount is in the darn jar. So I said, looks like we're going to be whipping soybean oil here in the kitchen. But this is what people are coming into, you know, the amount of their spending, and the Fed is trying to push that down, and it's a difficult situation. When you think about inflation, it's probably really around 10%, you know, and you're buying a house at 7%, you're okay, right? And inflation's higher than the interest rate you're paying.
Inflation raises the price of houses too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Interesting. Okay, so I want to track these things off.
Okay.
So listing extensions. So in order to get your listings extended, you have to keep in well communication with the seller. And you've got to put the power in their hands and you become the educator. And I like what Chris said the other day. You can, do you want to move? Do you have to move, or must you move? If you don't have to move, then we don't care where you price it because it's going to sell at some point, but it's not going to happen as quick as you want it to. If you have to move, how soon do you need to be there? We can play around for a month or two. Or if you must sell, then you got to play the game and let's hit the market below the last comp in your neighborhood that sold.
Right.
That's just it.
Right.
Who was I talking to? Oh, Jessica Decker. Yesterday or the day before?
The day before. Yeah.
Before. She got 2 listings. One went on the market. It got 7 showings on the first day. It got 6 offers with an escalation clause and went above asking price.
She priced it right. She priced it right.
And that market didn't have a lot of inventory.
Yeah.
Had people waiting to get into it. That's why they had 7. That's kind of your guide. If it hits the market and you get 7 showings in a day, you got a hot property.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know, and you should be going to the MLS and you should be looking at how many actives you have in your price point and how many pendings went pending the last 30 days to find out the month supply of inventory you have in your market, because it's going to be different at different price points. we pull the reports every month, and sometimes it'll say there's 2.3 months supply on hand, but that's an average of everything on the market. If you get up above $1 million, there's 6 months supply on hand in South Tampa right now.
Yeah, well, how
If
many
it's over $1 million?
$1 million houses?
Well, they're all $1 million. So, but the reality is that's the market you're in, all right, in the price point you're in. So you need to know that to help yourself to price it out.
Okay. So you need to communicate with your sellers continually, educate them, and if it doesn't sell in the listing period, you need to go to .loop, fill out a listing extension form, get it in, and then submit it for review to the back office, and we'll extend your listing and keep the sign up and all that stuff. If it expires and you don't tell us, it's an automatically drop off. And then it's a pain in the ass for us because we got to go in and reload all the pictures and reload all the data and all that stuff. So this is something we have to change in the new normal. You have to monitor your listing expiration dates. The board's going to update you, and Angelique's team is going to update you. So there's no excuses for that happening. What else are we going to start seeing in this new market?
Contingencies.
Yes, home sale contingencies are going to become more prevalent. So what do we do with home sale contingencies? You make your offer, and the buyer says, hey, look, I got to sell my house in Virginia, but I'd really like to buy your house. And now we got to think, oh shit, it's Virginia, it's November, it's already 30 degrees. They're probably not getting a whole bunch of sales, and I really want this house sold. Okay, I'll take your home sale contingency. But since you're a Beggins agent, you know better than that. So when you take a home sale contingency, you're also going to put in a
Kick-out clause.
Right? Kick-out clause says, okay, I'll take your crappy offer because you're the best one I got right now. But if a better one comes along the way, I'm going to kick your contract out and accept the other one. But before I do that, I'll give you give me some extra cash, and I'll keep you going. But you got to remove your contingency and close by the closing date.
Right.
Right. So really, this is important stuff for the agents to know is going on.
If you go into .loop, they've changed the addendum for buy or sell. They took off the part where they were supposed to give you a copy of the contract of the house they're being sold. So you may want to think that you want that, because they took that. I want to know what the house is under contract for, when it's supposed to close, and I want to talk to that agent on the other side to make sure that we're past inspections and has appraisal been done. So you need to know where that other house is. So they took that off. I don't know why they did that in the update of the extension, but they took that verbiage off where you have to supply the contract within so many days. So you may want to add that in.
Two things. One, home for sale contingency is a home for sale contingency.
Right.
Home is not even on the market yet. That's one type. And if it's on the market with the contract pending, that's another type.
Right.
If it's contract pending, you ask to see a copy. You don't have to write to see it, but you ask what it is.
Right.
If it's under contract and how solid it is. And you could even call the listing agent on the other side.
I always do. I want that information because you're protecting your seller, right? You don't want to take something that just went under contract yesterday and it's an as-is contract. And so anyway, you need to explain that to your seller, what's going on. I'm going
to jump around here a little bit, but this is another issue that we're going to see more of.
Lauren asked a question. Lauren, on the contingency for buyer to sell their home, they took out the sentence that said they needed to get you a copy of the contract within so many days of the effective date. They took that out of the
buyer's information obliterated. That's
right.
If you remember that clause.
Yeah.
John, you beat me to the punch there, but yes, when you do accept a contract with a home sale contingency, you don't change the status back to active because it is under contract. So it has to remain under contract. And as we know, pending contracts don't get marketed.
Right.
So it's really a detriment to the seller's marketing effort if you take a home sale contingency contract for a long period of time, because the house is going to be effectively not marketed because it won't be on the MLS, and the MLS is what feeds all the resources. So
correct.
Something else to consider.
Yeah, we don't have active with contract anymore.
This is a good example that came up. What if two .loops open? Huh. Interesting.
I wonder if they'll put that back in.
We probably Get Bob Pasquarello to talk to him for us. Okay, so two things happened with this contract. I'm going to show you when I find this part. And agents are asking this question, so I want to make sure we answer it properly. 10-day inspection period. Where is it? Oh, come on, Craig. Where's the assignability part?
Assignability in the contract, you mean?
Yeah. Is it below standards or it's above the standards?
Oh, it's above. It's above. I think it's above financing even. I don't have my book in front of me, but or I do.
Yeah.
I think it's right before inspections.
I'm finding it. It's coming up real quick.
I can see it, but I can't tell you what number.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, okay.
All right. So the agent sent me this contract, said, hey, would you please review this? Haven't seen this before. So there's two things there, and one's really important. Assignability.
Mm-hmm.
Buyer may assign and thereby be released from liability. What does that mean? I'm going to give my contract to Samantha, and if she doesn't close, you can't come after me.
Right.
Does that sound like a very good thing to do?
No.
No. Then you have buyer may assign, but not be released from liability under this contract. So in this case, to say check that box, I'm fine with it. And why would people assign a contract?
They're trying to resell the property. They may, sometimes I see assign but not removed from liability if they want to put it in a trust.
There you go.
So that's okay. Is that the answer you were looking for? Okay.
But I mean, I buy contracts, and if I can get them assignable and the market's going up, I can flip it. So let's say I bought it for 325 and I got a buyer for 360. I can assign the contract to the buyer, and he can pay me, $35,000 to assign the contract to him.
Right.
That's just profit, and I don't have to close twice, because if I got to close on the purchase at 325 and then resell it at 365, then I got to pay doc stamps and all that stuff again, right?
Right.
Two reasons they want to do that. You got to be a little sneakier, sniff around a little bit, see why. But typically, I'm going to put it into an LLC, or I'm going to put it into a trust, and I don't have it set up yet. So I'm going to buy the house as Craig Beggins, but I'll put it in 123 Maple Street LLC before closing. And that's just simple. Tell the title company to do it. And then shut that one down and go to this one. They wrote into additional terms, and this agent did a really good job, but it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I think I saw this last night. Angela sent it. Yeah.
In addition to the municipal lien search set forth in paragraph 9C, the search shall include a search for open building permits and unrecorded code violations. This contract shall remain contingent until such time as the buyer has received the municipal lien search and has had an additional 5 days to object to the same. I got to talk about this one. Okay. Very good. Okay. So I had another issue on the same topic yesterday. The agent found out like a couple days before closing that there are some open permits that have not been closed, or there's some work that was identified that needed a permit that didn't have a permit, and it's an as-is contract. He's trying to figure out how to solve the problem, which is a great aspect, solve the problem, but they were trying to get the seller to solve the problem. And I said, wait a minute, this is an as-is contract. The as-is contract says the seller will assist with permits, but has no obligation to bring them into compliance. And they've already passed the inspection period and they haven't canceled. So in this example, I told our agent, call the buyer's agent, say, hey, we identified, the attorney identified that there's some permit work that needs to be done. Your buyer needs to get in touch with an engineer or a contractor, and they need to go inspect this work and then say it's good. And then they got to go to the, if they want to, or they could buy it with the open permit. Right. But it's the buyer's responsibility to do that. And it's going to cost, probably $750 at least if it's built to code. Right. So that's a problem. And it's not the seller's job to fix because they did it as is. So what this agent here is saying is, chances are you're not going to get your municipal lien search and your public records permit search within the inspection period. It takes longer. The title company's got to order it from wherever they do, and they got to be told to order it, because no longer is it a requirement to pass clear title that the permit is closed. Okay. So what she's saying is, we understand the permit's our responsibility, but we're probably not going to get it during the inspection period. So you're going to extend we can still cancel if we find out there's a permit problem. And we'll do that. We'll get 5 days after we receive the notice. Now that's a problem to me.
Yeah, I had the same conversation with her last night. 5 days is an awful lot of time.
Yeah, after you get it. If you don't get it for a week and a half, and then you want 5 days after that, that's 2 weeks. And then they can cancel? Bullshit. I'm not gonna let you. So I told her to put in, but not later than, November 12th. Put the feet under their fire. They can always cancel and get out of the deal and not have to lose any money, but they got to pay for the search and get it done until people hold them accountable. Right. So this is Master the Contract Friday. So these are real life issues.
Right.
That I did a class with Amy Gregory a few weeks back, and Amy made it very clear in the contract, you have a right to get a permit search, but it's not necessary for clear title. So in this case, the agent, I think we were talking to two different agents. The agent I was talking to sold this house to these people, and they didn't catch this permit search. Right. So now they're selling it, but now they're aware of it. So now they have to disclose it.
Right.
So little nuances come into place. And when we try to deceive people and stuff, it just doesn't work. So now we didn't do what this agent did when we sold the house to these people. So they're unbeknownst to anything. So they're selling it, not disclosing the permit issue. They didn't know about it. So they can't be responsible for that. But now they know, because this attorney, for whatever reason, figured it out. But it's the buyer's problem now, because they didn't do it within their inspection period, which means the buyer's agent was kind of negligent, really, not telling the buyer, hey, you need to check these things out, because it's going to haunt you. So now this new buyer is going to pay for the sins of 2 sellers ago, right? Because they put the AC in without a permit.
Yeah.
They did it right. So, you guys understand what I'm saying when I say that? This is real life real estate.
The fun things that come up, right?
All right, back to my list.
There
Home
you go.
sales we covered, listing extensions we covered, hard deposits. Now, and I've got a lawsuit pending on this one right now. This poor widow victim person really wanted this house, and they were told by us that there's a lot of competition in this listing. If you want a chance to get it, I'd recommend you put a large deposit. So they put a large deposit up, and their large deposit, they did their inspections and all that stuff, and everything was great, but their financing, this is a savvy investor who came in with their own letter of credit from their lender saying they would qualify this house on this address for this loan. But apparently the lender didn't know it was a co-op, not a residential real estate transaction. And a co-op is there's no real property. You're buying percentage of shares in the LLC, not real estate. So it's not financed the same way. And this buyer didn't know that, and they didn't cancel during their loan approval period. So they lost their $50,000 deposit. Right? And that was encouraged by us because we knew there were multiple offers, and that's what we were doing in the hot market. Right? Hey, buyer, really come in. Let's remove all contingencies. Let's put the hard cash down as big as we can to make you look like the best buyer available of the multiple offers we had. Well, lo and behold, she didn't get the house. We negotiated with the seller. We got her $30,000 of the $55,000 back. And then 4 months later, we get a demand letter from the buyer's attorney saying that we misrepresented them, and they want us to write them a check for $25,000 because we misrepresented them. And I said, how did we misrepresent you? Well, why on earth would you demand such a high deposit? That wasn't in your client's best interest. Well, number one, we didn't have a single agent notice signed, so we are not a single agent. We were a transaction broker. Number two, our advice was made to her, and she made the decision to put the big deposit up. We recommended it, but she still did it, but she's taking no responsibility for that now. So now I've got a lawyer, and we're going to go through, and the E&O company is going to get involved, and we're probably going to throw her some cash just so we don't have to go after the rest of it. But so the need for big deposits, I'm talking about real estate 3 months ago versus real estate now, you have the pressures off. You don't need to put hard deposits. I still want you getting a good deposit with the initial offer to make it look good. And I really want an additional deposit at the end of the inspection period to submit the deal for us, for the seller, and for the buyer. So we're all committed to going forward. So I think that's a change from 2021 to 2022 is we don't need the big, hard, non-refundable deposits now. So it's always a good idea if you want the deal to go through, but you don't need it. So that's a change. They're not as necessary now. But in Jessica Decker's situation, 6 offers on one day and one property, we're right back to, buddying up with the listing agent, say, what's going on? How do your other offers look? What do I got to do to beat them? Right? Still going to ask for it. I'm sure half of the other agents will not know. Yeah, sure. John, is it acceptable in public remarks to state yes, yes, it is. But that's just going to show up in the MLS. But the MLS is not feeding to the syndication sites because it's not active. And only the active listings syndicate out. So you can put it in there, but nobody's going to see it unless they're looking on MLS, which would be the other agents. And there used to be a field called active with contract, and that's been taken away. So no, it's a disadvantage to market to have a home for sale with a home sale contingency because it's basically just you who knows about it.
Right. And you got to explain that to the seller.
Yes. Because on your weekly update calls, you're going to have nothing to update them on. You're not going to get any show.
Well, you got to understand the negative backside of doing that, because you're essentially taking off the market.
Okay, something we didn't do in the last 3 years that we used to do all the time when a seller is coming in a little bold on the price, right? Remember, write this one down. This is a Craigism for you. A listing is an unsecured loan that only gets repaid when the property is sold, right? So you're going to fork out time and money, virtual tours, photographs, sign it, all that stuff, ads, Facebook things, and you're not going to get paid unless you get this commission comes in. So if it's an unsecured loan. So if you take a listing and it's not going to sell, you're never going to get paid for it. And actually you're going to lose money. So as the market's shifting, we're going to see days on market get longer and longer and longer. And if a seller's coming in bold, let's use your 21-day rule. So today is November 4th. 21 days from now will be November 25th. You write into the listing agreement additional terms. Seller and broker agree that if the home is not sold by November 25th, the price shall be reduced to X. And then you put a calendar note in your Beggins calendar that says on the 24th, submit a status change to listings or contract listings at c2ab.com and ask for the price reduction from $425 to $400. But you already have the ability in advance to get it done. Because we want to get our loan repaid. And if they say in the beginning, yeah, we'll lower it, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by, they didn't, let's not lower it yet. A good salesperson is say, no, let's map this out. You know you're coming in high. We'll give it a shot. But like I said, if you don't get a bunch of showings in the first week, the market's saying we're not that interested in your house. So you lower an adjustment, you lower the price, and you also rearrange the photographs and you change up the verbiage because it's going to get pinged out when you make the change. And Joe's going to say, oh, I already saw this one next. But now we changed pictures around, we changed the verbiage. It sounds like a different house and it's a new price, right? So those are the things we're going to have to start doing now that we didn't have to do in the last 3 years.
Pictures and the public remarks change. Yep. Change them both.
Change both. All right, so that's something we didn't have to do.
Craig, let's talk about while you're looking there, marketing the property. If the house is vacant, you probably do want to get virtual staging in it at this point. And you're going to have to put out, you're going to have to need a couple days to get that done. There's virtual stagers out there. The one I use, I can't remember the name of it. It's usually about a day or two. I send them the pictures and I get it back. Shannon can also do it.
Shannon outsources it, but he could be your one-stop contact. It's $25, right, I think, per photos.
I think mine's 16 or something like that. So yeah.
But then that has to happen too. Make sure staff knows that they're virtual, or because you've got
to disclose that. Yeah. But that's kind of, and when I do it, sometimes I do the room empty and then the next picture will be staged. So I'll do both so people can see both.
Good idea.
Remember, a lot of people are looking at this from out of town. They're not here. So
Yeah, absolutely true. And if you're, and that could be a gift. Let's put it on the market. And if it doesn't sell in the first week, then I'll add some virtual staging photos. Right. So you don't have to do it up front, but if it's something else that's not making a difference, that work. I wrote down wait till next year. I kid you not. One of our agents was talking to another agent yesterday. Oh, no, sorry. One of our agents was talking to a seller, potential seller in Tampa. And the seller had their own agent. And it was just common, a casual conversation that turned into a real estate conversation. And the seller said, yeah, I was going to put my house on the market, but my agent said, nobody's buying now. Wait till next year.
I don't know. I saw 14 houses go under contract in Hillsborough County last month.
Well, our hot sheet had 13 houses on it yesterday. But these are things not to say to a seller. Wait till next year, the market's slow. That's so dumb. We're having to break out the holiday thing.
I was talking to you yesterday, every time I got transferred with more business forms, I got the promotion in December.
Yeah, that's when most corporations move their people.
And guess what? I went and looked at houses over the Christmas break.
Here, put it this way. The only people that are looking at houses over the Christmas break are serious. And what are most people doing? Holding their house off the market until after the holidays.
Right.
So you got less competition during this time of year, and you've got only serious people looking. So if you're not on the market, you're not going to get seen. And it's not like you're going to get bowled over with 47 showings. You're going to get a very few, but they'll be very good.
Right.
Yeah. Lauren says that's an agent that's taking fourth quarter off and will be out of the business next year. Exactly what I was going to say. So that you don't tell people, no, if they want to get on the market, you get it. When's the best time to be on the market? Now.
Right now.
Because I don't know what buyers are looking for right now, but as soon as I put it on the market, I'm going to find out really quick. And we just talked about the list now, there's less competition. And that just is easy. You don't have that objection handler written down. I'll say it again. The only people looking during the holidays are very serious. Right? And most people are holding their houses off the market during the holidays because they don't want to be bothered. So the only houses, there's very few houses available, and there's serious buyers are ready. And you're not available. So put it on the market now. You can always control showings.
I found the best time for a buyer to buy the house was November, December, January, and February, before there was a lot of competition for the properties, because there's not that many people usually looking in the fourth quarter and the first part of the first quarter. So it's a good, you might not have the inventory, but you won't have the competition either.
So 30 years of doing this, Joe, quarter four is always our slowest quarter, right? Because the hot summer season slowed down and we just do less closings. But just like all the speakers are doing now, they're switching everything. Now it's manager pipeline, manager pipeline, manager pipeline. The inquiries you're getting now are going to be buying in the near future. They're not buying right now, but you need to take care of them right now. So you put them in your Moxie CRMs. I just got my Moxie update from Jimmy this morning, 14 new listings hit the market. Usually it's 4 to 6 listings hit the market in my demographic area he set me up in. But today it was 14 listings hit the market, right? Since the last update last week, right? And, I told you I talk to my neighbors in here all the time, and mostly when I'm walking, and they'll tell me, because I don't look at the MLS every day. It's not what I do, but they'll tell me, Joe, did you see this house came on the market? And I'm embarrassed. I don't know, but they know. How do they know? Because they're getting alerted. The one girl's getting alerted by Redfin. Another one's getting alerted by Zillow, right? And they're getting it from those sources, not even real estate agents. So the more we need to get more people shopping on our Moxie sites through Moxie Engage. So set these people up on this stuff. We talk about relocation, end of year movement. That's when a lot of brokers do that. So that works.
We're going to have to start doing open houses again. And brokers opens.
That's on my list here. Yeah, we'll probably close with this. Marketing.
Oh, okay.
You actually have to market your listings now. We were kind of pissed about it, right? Because it used to be you put your sign up and the sign calls are golden, guys. Those people that are picking up the telephone and calling a real estate office to talk to a real estate agent about the house they drove by and liked, man, those are the Glenn Gross leads, or whatever that show was. They're the hot ones. We missed that opportunity. The houses were selling before we put signs in the yard. right? So let's talk about signage. What else should you do on your signage? You need a name rider,
Writer.
right? Because
Mhm.
people call and you ask the front desk, Roast and Shelley, what they hear. Oh yeah, there's a house on, I don't remember what street, it's green though.
Yeah.
You know, we were down to 90 something listings at the end of last year, and we've grown to 254 listings now. So Elliot said in that blog post, in that video, that inventory is up 137%. Up, ours is up more than that. And that's a good thing for us because we're taking more listings. All right. So we went from 99 to 254 in this period of time. So open houses, Joe, you made a comment about open houses. You can do open houses not on the weekends, you know,
Yeah.
especially now as the employment market changed. You know, I'm just thinking, Jessica's my son-in-law, Zach. He's interviewing with different companies right now, and this is a big firm, and it's 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week at home. And you know damn well you're using more freedom at working at home. I'm not saying you're working less, but you can, you know, go to the gym at noon and come back and then work until 7 o'clock at night if you want, or you can get up at 5 and then go to the gym at noon. It's more flexibility. So open houses don't have to be just weekends, and now you have time. And you guys are capturing really good clients. I heard we had 33 people at an open house the other day.
When the market was bad before, we did open houses like 4 to 7. If it was a busy street or something, trying to get people on their way home from work to stop by.
There you go. And then we also talked about door knocking. I mean, that is my favorite. I was a door knocker. I'll admit it. I like door knocking because it was, I knocked 30 doors in an hour and I'd get 5 or 6 or 7 people home and I'd get my contacts in for the time. But when you door knock an open house, it's fantastic because you're, one, promoting the seller's listing, and 2, you're talking to the neighbors, because if one sells, usually 2 more sell right away, because it starts a feeding frenzy trend for some unknown reason, right? It's like the guy who sells empowers the neighborhood to think, oh, I don't have to stay here anymore. I can do different things.
Well, remember, we used to tell everybody, you know, when you list your house, go introduce yourself to the 5 people to the right, to the left, and the 10 people across the street, right? And I never did that before I came here, and I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I've never tried, and I did it, and mine, you know, hey, I introduced myself, you know, that house over there is going to come up, and I just wanted to introduce myself. That's my car. So if you see my car out there, you know, I'm not robbing the house. Right. You know, and kind of make a joke out of it that, you know, you don't have to call the police on me if you see me at the house all the time. And it starts a conversation with them. So
and I'll never forget Alex Perillo, the former president of Realogy, real estate group, said the best thing you can do in this market to provide value to your buyers is actually introduce them to the neighbors. So when you're knocking on the doors around the house, say, hey, by the way, how do you like this neighborhood? Any selling points you could give me to help find your best neighbor? You know, oh, the parks are wonderful, whatever it is. You start learning about it and you meet those people. And then when you meet a buyer and they want to get to know the neighborhood, point them in the direction of the nice people.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then we talk about broker opens, right?
Yeah.
And that was when, you know, we were friendly. Now, since every friggin' real estate agent works for a recruiting company now, you know, they're always trying to recruit you. So they're Keller Williams, XP, I deviate, but I was on a presentation yesterday with Century 21.
That was a good presentation.
It was.
Yeah.
I saw your name on there. What did they say? Remax and Keller Williams are net growth negative. So they've got a declining number of agents, and EXP has leveled out. EXP has been growing like crazy. And the thing about EXP, they said, was EXP is really, they're up to 85,000 agents, but they're also up to 85,000 recruiters. And that's why they're growing, because their agents are doing all this recruiting shit, but they're not doing any real estate. And the stat that came out, which I'm impressed with, 85% of the EXP agents are not capping. So they're leaving their real estate business, going to EXP, becoming recruiters. And the reason they want to go there is 1, for the stock options, and 2, for the cap ability.
And the cap wasn't that high. Wasn't it 20 grand or something? It wasn't.
It's 80,000 in gross commission at 20%. So it's $16,000.
Right.
Then Keller Williams is 18,000. So EXP is 16,000.
Right. Okay.
But the stock options, when EXP came public, their stock traded at $80. Yesterday, it was at $2.35. So you might have gotten 1,000 options or 100 options or whatever to at the stock at $80. I'm being signed out because of my on another device. That's weird. I don't want to say okay. Is it still working?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Cancel. Weird. I've never had that happen.
No.
So anyway, I deviated, but that was a stocking number. And then the president, the new president of Keller Williams said 80% of their agents do not make a living.
That was a phenomenal number I heard. I was like, 80% of the people aren't making enough money to make a living. That's shameful.
It really is.
It's just really shameful.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a massive decline. So I wrote down sign calls. You're going to see sign calls in this coming peak period. If you have listings, you're going to see sign calls. And then I wrote down incubating leads is going to be important. And that's another plug for Moxie. You need to get these people and engage and set them up on just listed, just sold announcements, on neighborhood news announcements. And you got to stay in touch with them because they're all want to buy. And here's what's going to happen. The Fed's going to raise rates so they stall the economy. And then they're going to go, oh, shit, we stalled the economy too much. We need to invigorate it. And what are they going to do?
Lower rates.
They're going to lower rates. So what are the buyers going to do that are sitting on the sideline?
They're going to jump in.
They're going to jump back in, but who are they going to jump back in with?
The people who they're talking to.
The people who they're talking to. So this is a long tail play that you need to work, take every lead, treat them like gold, put them on a system, stay in touch with them, just like I beat the Zillow team for. You know, we're getting so few leads now from Zillow, but we got so many in the past. We're going back to the old pipelines and we're exceeding our sales quotas every month right now because we got the agents going back to the pipeline and bringing those old, we were getting 300 leads a month. Now we're getting 30, not even because they shut down the system. But there's gold in them past leads. So same message to you guys. If you're not getting new leads coming in at the rate you need, go back and work your old leads. So Lead Router is sunsetting on 12/31. It's already read only. You can still download your contacts though. And they should automatically sync over to Leads Engine. So you didn't lose anything, but those people are in there and those numbers are in there and those email addresses are in there and you need to start massaging them now, right? Things we didn't have to worry about before because we had a steady stream of leads and we had a steady stream of
business.
Now you got to go back and dig it more. And that's the way it used to be. So it's okay. And then I wrote down reverse prospecting. We talked about this in the Apollo Beach meeting this week. What a tool, right? So
I got like 5 emails this week on that from other agents.
And it's brilliant. So Matrix, if an agent sets up their customer on a Matrix search, which they'll have to do, and the customer gets notified of your new listing when it hits the market and they look at it, it will show, so reverse prospecting, you hit the little button on the screen and it pulls up a list of all the agents who have enrolled customers that have seen your listing. And the customers, as they're shopping, if they like that house, they can put a red heart by it, which is called a favorite.
Right.
So you do something cool to your house. You change the color schemes, you change this, you lower the price, whatever it is. You can reach out to Susie Blue at Keller Williams and say, hey, Susie, I noticed you've got a customer who's interested in my house at Maple Street. We just lowered the price and offered closing costs credits. Maybe you can reach out to them. And then Susie can go into her matrix and see what agent favorited Maple Street and say, hey, I just got an update from the agent. They added a $10,000 closing cost. We can actually buy your rate down to, 5.5% with that $10,000. You want to go look at that house again? What a cool tool. But these are things we didn't have to worry about in the last couple of years, but now we have to start going back to the basics. And some of you haven't been here long enough to know that's even an option, right? So that's reverse prospecting. You wanted to talk about propertyblast.com.
Yeah, there's I use propertyblast.com. There's also another one called eflyerhomes.com. I've never used that one, but I know some people do that. It's called eflyerhomes.com. And basically it sends out notifications to all the agents in the MLS in Hillsborough. You pick the county where you want it to go, Hillsborough, Pasco, whatever. And it's like $20. and it sends a flyer out like, you know, just low, you can say just listed, just lower price, you know, whatever you want to do, open house. And it's $20 to do it. And, you know, it comes to your email and some of you erase them. But if something comes across going, nice house, you know, price reduced house in Apollo Beach or, you know, whatever, and you got a buyer looking in that area, you're liable most likely to click on it and take a look at which house it is. So it's a good tool. I've sold a couple of houses that way where the agent saw the flyer and called me on it. So for $20, you can't go wrong, really.
Okay. Well, we got through almost everything on my list.
Yeah.
The thing is, we have to recognize that we have to do things differently now. And, you know, when I read the birthdays and the anniversaries at the beginning of the sales meeting this week, you know, most of the agents on the anniversary list were, I would say, less than 3 years with us. So they don't know what a normal market is. So I'm going to start putting these things in because we got to get back to basics and start practicing the good habits. And the good habits are we need to market our listings now. We didn't have to before. A lot of the marketing is automatic, right?
Right.
But yeah, and I want to clarify this too. Last point. Active days on market right now for Hillsborough County is, and they're very similar. So when I say Hillsborough, it's relevant.
Right. They're all same.
Pinellas,
Yeah.
Pasco, all those other ones. Active days on market is 37 days is average. That's a month, a little bit over a month and a week.
Yeah. And last month, I think it was 21. And so it's going up a little because why? Because we're getting more properties on the market, right? Buyers have more time to look at it. So they're staying on a little longer. So setting that expectation with our sellers that they're probably not going to, there's a possibility they won't sell it the first weekend.
Yeah. So go back to some history, go back to 2018, 2019, pre-pandemic, before the champagne was pouring for free out of the vases. What was the typical days on market then? 120,
16, 24, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Oh, no way. We had 120 days, 130 days.
Oh, you're talking about in the last recession?
No. Just in the normal market.
I'd have to go back and look at the reports, but they were around 42, I think, sometimes.
Well, a balanced market is 6 months supply.
6 months. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's 180 days.
Right.
So that's not uncommon. So takeaways from today, start getting listings for 6 months. We don't know how long it's going to take. Have the conversation with the seller. Do you want to sell? Do you have to sell? Or do you need to sell? Right. And that's going to depend where you hit the market. We're going to get to sales price at some point because we're going to do regular stage price reductions until we hit it. But if they need to go now, go there now. If not, we can dilly-dally till we get there. And then.
And, you know, Craig, if you price it very competitively, guess what? You're going to get multiple offers.
You're going to be a Jessica Decker and get seven showings and 6 offers with escalation clauses.
Yeah.
Those aren't going to go away for the hot price properties and the tight micro markets. But yeah, so that's it. So anyway, pay attention, guys. We know what we're doing. We're going to get you through this, and don't be scared. Just be engaged because you're going to learn a lot of tips and tricks.
Right. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Joe. You guys, happy Friday. Be safe.
Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
If you can't be safe, be careful.